What's going on, guys? Welcome back. I really wanted to get started on the 31 today, but it is terrible weather out here. It's made a right mess of everything. I wouldn't even be able to tow the 31 up here because the driveway is such a mess. So unfortunately, no 31 work happening today, but keep on going with this RB30. So gonna get stuck into this head, start redoing the head, and sort of run you through a little bit on how that goes about. And then I've got my bung for my oil temp sender, so I can weld that into the sump, and then the sump and pickup can go on, and then essentially the RB's more or less together. So that's cool. That'll be pretty much the motor ready. So yeah. Oh, also stickly doodahs, got them ready. I'll leave a link in the description. They are ready for purchase. So, you know, if you want to support the channel, go and buy one. If you don't. That's cool. If you put them on something, send me a picture. That'll be sick. So, there. Set. So here's the head, as you can see, or as you probably would have seen when I pulled it down as well. It's actually quite clean looking inside. Everything looks great. Also, Rex is back, guys. But the actual valves just have heaps of carbon build-up on them. And obviously I don't want to go throwing the motor together and then finding that they don't seal properly and losing compression. That would just be a real pain. So while I do it, I may as well just pull them out and let the valves get them to seal properly. Put new stem seals in them while they're going in, because I got them with my gasket kit. So it just seems like it makes sense just to do it. So that's what I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is rip all the spark plugs out, and yeah, then just start pulling this down. You'll see. So as you hear, you just use your valve spring compressor to compress them. This is your little retainer. There's just two halves. They go either side on the little collet on the valve stem. And then it just pops out, and then the valve slides out the bottom. And these are your valve stem seals, which I'll replace all of. And that's how your valve comes out. You want to try and keep everything together. Makes it a lot better when you put it all back together. But as you can see, it's probably hard to see on the camera at the moment, but there's a little bit of pitting in these seats. And so the lap of the valves will be fine. The actual valves all look to be quite good. And maybe just give these seats a little bit of a grind, just a light grind. Clean everything up, clean the head right up, put it all back together, and we'll be set to go. It is interesting that these double valve springs are actually standard in RB30s. Actually, they're quite good design, the head. So you got your feed here, which feeds up into the like rocker shafts, and then into the lifters, and then down into the cam, which actually it looks like the lobes actually have oil feeds. So the way the head oils on the RB30 is quite good. It is streaks ahead of the 25. Don't understand how they got that so wrong. But hey, mighty RB30, what a weapon of a machine. Alrighty, so now with the head completely disassembled here on the bench. Also, just FYI, if anyone ever offers you a hospital bed, the answer is always yes. Always. I think it's so handy. Up, down, tilt. Absolutely awesome. But anyway, you can see the exhaust side is actually fairly bad. I'm pretty glad we went to the effort of pulling this down and doing this. So they all need a bit of a regrind, especially that. You can see the pitting in there, or you might be able to with the camera. I'll get a torch, hold on. Or I won't get a torch, I'll just use my phone. That'll do. So, there's a bit of pitting on these, on the seats, and you can see the valves are not the best, so glad I went through this. Means this motor's going to be really nice and pretty fresh when it goes together. Shouldn't have to worry about pretty much anything. Valves are going to seal, it's going to have good compression, it's going to be sweet. So yeah, just working on these. Righto, so with the head completely disassembled, all of your retaining shims and everything removed, obviously left with the valves that they came with. I'm just going to go ahead and gurney this head out. I'm not going to bore you with footage of it. It is literally exactly the same principle as gurning out the block. Follow all the same ideas as pretty much trying to get all this scaly crap out of the water galleries and all that stuff. After you've washed it out, blow it out, make sure you haven't pushed anything where it shouldn't be, and you should be sweet. So we'll do that now. Alrighty, so I went ahead and gurneyed out the head out there in the rain, nice and well, then gave it a really good blow down. So while I did that, Rex just cleaned up all these valves just on the wire brush. They all came out pretty well. Still going to give them a little bit of a lap, but they came out pretty well considering. So what I'm going to do now, or what we're going to do now, is clean up all these combustion chambers and these seats with the wire brush on the drill. Once that's done, I'll actually get into this head really well with some brake clean. Clean it right up nice and good. So there you go, nice and clean, ready to be lapped. Alright, so what we're doing here is just lapping these surfaces. So you've got the head up high enough so that you can get the valve all the way into this where it seats. This here is some cutting compound, and as you can hear, that's all you're doing is really just getting that abrasive stuff in there and trying to I suppose, surface where the valve sits so that it has a really nice clean seal.
Yeah, it just gets rid of any pitting or any little imperfections that'll stop it from sealing. So you can see, so now that we've pulled that out, does that clean that rag?
Yeah, I've just been using it with brake cleaner.
Oh. So once you wipe your paste off, you just have a look around and you can see where it's been grinding's sort of dulled, and that's what you look for, is just make sure that it's dull all the way around. If there's any shiny sections, it means it's not hasn't mated properly. That's a gap. So that's looking pretty good. How that is there, nice and even all the way around. So look at our
and you can see that has gone all the way around that seat.
Yep.
And
so
it's really nice and fresh.
You see the difference between those two there. That's pretty much what you're looking for. So these aren't that bad, as the old man said. That'll be fine with just a little bit of a lap up like that. When they're really bad, we've got grinding stones that you actually put in there, and you can grind the seat if it's really bad. And then we've got a valve refacer as well that lets you actually polish up and grind the valve as well. We try to avoid that as much as you can, because as you can see, that's actually, it's quite wide, that mating surface. That's what you don't want. You don't really want it any wider than that, because that actually doesn't help your valve sealing, because it spreads the force of the spring over a larger area, which obviously reduces the pressure.
So you're looking for a shorter taper with less surface area,
yeah,
to get a better seal.
Yep. You sort of want that ring fairly narrow if you can, but yeah, that'll be fine.
So anyway, guys, lucky that I get to get away without having to regrind this head, which is nice. Obviously, when you're regrinding, you can run into issues with shims and that on obviously heads with solid lifters or solid tappets. Obviously, the lifters in the RB30 head are hydraulic, which means they are pressurized by oil, which means that they're no shims, which means it doesn't particularly matter, but still it's nice to not have the extra work. But anyway, you just basically follow this process for all exhaust. Obviously, you use the valve you're going to use on the seat. That's a given. That's why you always make sure you place stuff out, as we have here, when you're pulling down a head. Just like so, everything's placed out as if this is the front of the head, that's the back of the head, and we've got an intake, exhaust, obviously separated, everything's separated. Shims, the retainer spring, everything goes back in the way it came out. And obviously, don't you lose your lifters out of your lifter buckets either, but that's all how it goes. I was also hoping, you probably remember, I was hoping when this cam came out to identify it, to basically see whether it was a factory turbo cam or not. From what I can read online, which is pretty hard to find anything online really, is that they actually don't really have identification marks on the standard cams, and the only way really to measure them or tell is to actually use a dial gauge to measure your duration and your overlap to identify the cam. So given that it doesn't make any difference to me because it's going back in either way, I'm not even going to bother. But so still unknown what cam that is. Honestly, it's still unknown to me whether the factory and turbo cams are even any different. Obviously, as I explained in the video where I went to pick up the 31, the difference between basically normally a normal and aspirated cam. But, you know, oh well. I don't know if actually Holden did run a different cam for the factory turbo one or not. So that's just what I've read. I was hoping to essentially confirm whether that was true or not, but I can't. So that's all right. Well, I can, but I'm not going to because I couldn't be bothered. So anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and lap all of these, and then we'll start putting this head back together. Alrighty, so that's all of the valves lapped. All done, all looking really good. As you can see, with valve cutting paste or compound, there's actually a first cut and then a second cut, so it's basically like a coarse and then a fine. So what you just saw, you didn't even see the whole head, and then you go through and do it all again with the fine paste to get that real nice last finish on it. So another one of those things I hope you can appreciate takes a very long time. Yeah, it's taken a long time to do all that. So it's another one of those things where now you just understand just how much work goes into even just doing that. You do it with new valves as well, like it's one of those things that gets done. So another one of those things where, you know, when you hit your bill from your engine builder or from your machine shop, you can understand just how much work actually goes into this stuff. So that's all I'm going to put in this episode. So keep an eye out for the next one, and we'll start really starting to put this head back together in the next episode. So cheers for watching, guys. Don't forget, if you want to buy stickers, link in the description if you're into that. If not, please just tell a mate. Tell a mate about the channel. And yeah, hope you're enjoying all the content. Hopefully you're enjoying the extra content I'm trying to put out. So really trying to ramp this up a little bit. So yeah, cheers for watching as always, and we'll see you later.